You open your phone, nothing specific in mind, just the usual pull, that small itch at the edge of a quiet moment. Maybe you're lying in bed or sitting on the couch while dinner cools on the counter. You scroll through a few videos, a few posts, someone's apartment, someone's morning routine, someone's haul of things that apparently changed their life. You watch for 5, maybe 10 minutes, and then you put your phone down. Here's the strange part. Nothing bad happened. No one said anything cruel to you. No one compared you to someone else out loud. But there's something sitting in your chest now that wasn't there before you picked up the phone. A low, vague feeling, hard to name, easy to dismiss. Your room looks a little dull. Your routine feels a little thin. You think briefly about your skincare, or your desk, or your wardrobe, or your car, and somewhere in that thought, without anyone telling you to, you've already started a small list in your head of things that might fix what you didn't know was broken. That feeling, that quiet, inexplicable dissatisfaction, is not an accident. There's a version of the consumerism conversation that goes like this. Corporations are greedy, advertising is manipulation, and if you just woke up and thought critically, you wouldn't fall for it. That version is satisfying in a certain way. It has a villain, a victim, and a solution. But I think it also misses the most important part of what's actually happening, which is that the machinery doesn't work through obvious manipulation. It works through something much quieter and much more intimate than that. It works by teaching you, slowly and almost imperceptibly, to feel that your ordinary life is not quite enough. Not bad, not a disaster. Just slightly, persistently, almost enough. Just a little short. Missing something you can't quite articulate, but somehow, conveniently, one of the things you just saw for sale might be it. Think about your phone for a moment. The one in your pocket or on your nightstand right now. Chances are it does everything you need it to do. It calls people, it takes photos, it connects you to the entire accumulated knowledge of humanity in seconds. By any reasonable historical standard, it is an astonishing object. And if you'd never seen a commercial for anything newer, you'd probably think of it exactly that way. But then the announcement happens. A new model. The camera is slightly better in low light. The edges are slightly more curved. There's a new color. There's a video of it sitting on a table in a minimalist kitchen, bathed in warm morning light, next to an artisan coffee and a leather-bound journal. And your phone, your perfectly functional phone, starts to feel in your hand like a slightly heavier, slightly duller object than it was yesterday. Nothing about your phone changed. Something about how you saw it did. That gap between the thing as it is and the thing as it suddenly seems is where consumerism lives, not in the product. In the perception it carefully arranges around the product. Apple understands this better than almost any company on earth. The annual iPhone cycle isn't really about technology, not in any meaningful sense. The improvements from one year to the next are usually small. They know that. Everyone knows that. But what the cycle does brilliantly is create a rhythm of obsolescence, a reliable annual moment where millions of people glance at what they have and feel a version of that slight, unnamed deflation. The genius is that the feeling precedes the product. The product just arrives as the cure. And it's not just phones, it's almost everything that has been absorbed into the logic of consumer culture. Sneakers used to be shoes, then they became culture, and culture became scarcity, and scarcity became theater. A Jordan drop isn't just a shoe release. It's a ritual of exclusion and desire, carefully engineered so that a wanting is the point as much as having. People camp outside stores, refresh apps, enter raffles. The shoe itself, once obtained, often sits unworn in a box. Proof of something, displayed in a photo, added to a collection that has quietly become about the feeling of getting rather than the experience of wearing. There's nothing wrong with liking sneakers. But it's worth noticing how the emotional architecture of it works. The scarcity is largely artificial. The urgency is manufactured. The identity wrapped up in ownership, I got them, I'm someone who got them, is real. Because desire is always real. But it was cultivated deliberately. over years by people who understood that if they made you feel left out, you'd work harder to get in. Walk into any Sephora or just open TikTok to the beauty side of it, and you'll encounter something that presents itself as self-care, but operates in a more complicated way. There are routines, sermons, almost 12-step, 15-step rituals involving serums and acids and peptides and moisturizers and SPF layers and retinol and eye creams and toners. The woman walking you through it has perfect skin. She looks effortless. She is telling you, warmly, gently, that your skin needs all of this. Before you watched that video, you weren't thinking about your skin. You might have been perfectly fine. But now you're in your bathroom, in the slightly harsh light above the mirror, looking at your face with a new inventory in your head. The texture here, the line there, the dullness that apparently, according to 3 separate people you've watched this week, can be fixed with a certain serum that's only $38 and is life-changing if you use it consistently. The product doesn't target your insecurity. It creates the insecurity and then arrives as the answer. That's the loop. And once you see it, you start to see it everywhere. Fast fashion understood something crucial early. If you can make the speed of trend change fast enough, you can ensure that anyone trying to keep up will always be slightly behind. Shein drops thousands of new items a week. Not hundreds, thousands. The point is not that any individual item is desirable. It's that the churn itself creates the feeling that whatever you're currently wearing is already fading, already a little last season, already telling a story about you that isn't quite the story you want to tell. So you buy again, and the purchases pile up and the wardrobe swells and nothing quite fits the self-image you were chasing because the self-image moved again, just slightly out of reach by the time the package arrived. Temu operates on a similar logic, but strips away even the pretense of style. The pitch is pure accumulation. Here are 40 things for $12. Here is abundance so cheap it feels like a trick. And part of the seduction is exactly that. The feeling of getting so much for so little. The dopamine of the cart filling up, the giddy absurdity of a haul, until the things arrive and they're slightly wrong and they pile on a shelf and you scroll through the next set of 40 things because the feeling you were chasing wasn't ever really about the objects. There's a particular kind of YouTube video that has become its own genre, and it's worth spending a moment with it. It goes by many names. Things I didn't know I needed, products that changed my life, Amazon finds that are actually worth it. The format is simple. Someone walks you through a series of products, usually ordinary objects presented as revelations. A cable organizer, a specific kind of tape, a soap dispenser that attaches to the wall, a chopping board with a drawer. Every item is framed as a solution to a problem you've been living with, enduring, suffering under. Except you weren't suffering. You were just living. You hadn't noticed the problem because for you it wasn't one, but someone articulated it in warm, enthusiastic language, and now it is. Now the small imperfection in your kitchen or your desk or your bathroom routine has been named. And named problems have solutions, and solutions are for sale with free 2-day shipping. This is what makes it different from a simple advertisement. A traditional ad shows you a product. These videos show you your life, specifically what's wrong with it, and the product is almost secondary. The real content is a steady inventory of domestic inadequacies, delivered in a tone that is cheerful and caring and completely devoid of malice, which makes it harder to feel defensive about. Black Friday might be the most honest day in consumer culture, not because the deals are real, many of them aren't, but because the ritual strips away all the personal framing and reveals the structure underneath. A date is smart, desire is synchronized. Millions of people feel urgency about the same things at the same moment, not because those things suddenly became more necessary, but because the calendar told them to feel it. The scarcity is theatrical. Items sell out not because they're rare but because the theater requires it. And afterward, there is always a specific flavor of post-purchase quiet, a stillness in which the thing sits in its packaging, and the excitement, which was never really about the thing, has already moved on to wondering what the next sale might bring. Prime Day is the same ceremony, slightly more algorithmic. The recommendations are personalized, the countdown timers are precise, the machine knows what you've looked at, what you've hesitated over, what you almost bought 3 weeks ago and didn't, and it surfaces those things inside a container of artificial scarcity because hesitation in that system is a problem to be solved. The solution is always urgency. The urgency is always manufactured, but the feeling of it is completely real. And then there's the world that's harder to talk about because it's newer and people are still a little defensive about it. The digital economy of appearance, gaming skins, battle passes, limited edition virtual items that exist nowhere except on a server that can be looked at but not touched, that have no function except to signal something about the person who spent real money acquiring them. The logic at first seems strange. You're buying something that doesn't exist. But the logic of consumer culture was never really about owning objects. It was about what owning certain objects said or seemed to say about who you were. And that dynamic translates completely into digital space. The skin says something, the rare emote says something, the fact that you played enough or paid enough to have this particular cosmetic says something about your investment, your belonging, your position in a hierarchy that is entirely made up but completely felt. Fortnite, by one estimate, has made billions of dollars selling nothing but this feeling. The game itself is free. The product is the desire to be seen a certain way inside it. The influencer economy is interesting because it introduced a figure who occupies an unusual position. Not quite celebrity, not quite peer, but a specifically designed hybrid of both. The parasocial relationship is the product. You follow someone for months or years. You see their home, their routines, their relationships, their anxieties. You develop something that feels like familiarity, maybe even affection. And then, from inside that affection, they show you something they bought. The product lands differently than it would in an advertisement because it's not arriving from a brand. It's arriving from someone you like, someone whose life you've watched, someone who seems, through careful curation, to have the kind of life that feels aspirational without being unattainable. TikTok made me buy it, is said half-jokingly, but the joke contains something real. The app made you want it. Someone you watched for 30 seconds made you want it. The wanting arrived faster than thought, faster than deliberation, faster than the small moment of judgment in which you might have asked yourself whether you needed this thing, whether your life was lacking this thing before you saw it, whether the feeling you're acting on was yours or was placed there. I want to be careful here because this isn't really about willpower. The framing of willpower, if only you were more disciplined, more critical, more awake, puts the weight on the individual and quietly excuses the system that makes individuals feel this way. Nobody browses their way into dissatisfaction because they're weak. The dissatisfaction is engineered by people who study human psychology with tremendous resources and sophistication, who understand exactly which images create what feelings, who know that comparing yourself to something slightly better than your current situation is not a personal failure but a neurological reaction. They know this, they build for it. The problem isn't that people are gullible. The problem is that the system was built to find and gently press on the places where people feel uncertain about themselves, their appearance, their status, their home, their body, their taste, their worth, and then position a product at exactly that tender spot, not as a manipulation or not presented as one, as a solution, as an act of care, as a way to help. There's a kind of sadness in the apartment tour video that I find it hard to look away from. Someone walks through their space, usually beautiful, light-filled, carefully arranged, with a specific set of objects chosen for how they photograph. And the comments underneath are often warm, people expressing admiration, asking where things are from, saying they want this, that, all of it. But sometimes in the middle of the comment, someone writes something like, "I'll never have this," and they probably mean it as a self-deprecating joke, a little exhale of impossible desire. But there's something else sitting inside it. A genuine comparison made involuntarily between the life on screen and the life being lived. A life that, before the video, probably felt fine. That's the cost that doesn't get counted. Not the money spent, though that's real and often significant. The quieter cost is what happens to your relationship with your own ordinary life. When you spend a large portion of your time inside a stream of content that is, almost by definition, curated to look better than ordinary. The lighting is better, the furniture is more intentional, the skin is filtered, the morning is staged, and the gap between that and your actual Tuesday, the slightly cluttered desk, the skincare routine that is just a moisturizer, the phone that's 2 generations old, starts to feel not bad exactly, but quietly inadequate. A small, persistent sense that you are behind on something, running a race whose finish line keeps moving. The most disorienting thing about all of this is that you can know it's happening and still feel it. Understanding the mechanics doesn't make you immune. You can watch the influencer and think clearly and rationally, this is a paid partnership, this lighting is not real, this apartment is staged, and still feel the low pull of wanting. The intellectual knowledge and the emotional experience exist on separate tracks. The machine was built for the emotional track, not the intellectual one. Which is maybe why the advice to just don't buy things always feels a little beside the point. It addresses the behavior but not the thing underneath the behavior, which is the feeling, manufactured, real, persistent, that your life as it currently exists is slightly unfinished, that you're missing something, that there are people who have gotten something figured out that you haven't yet, and that the gap between their life and yours is a gap in your life specifically, a flaw in you, a problem that could be solved if you just found the right object. You can resist buying the thing. The feeling tends to stay. So what do you do with that? I don't think I have a clean answer, and I'd be suspicious of anyone who offered one. Especially if they were selling something that comes with it. But I think there's something important in just noticing when the feeling arrives, noticing where it came from, sitting with the fact that you felt fine, then you saw something, and then you felt less fine, not immediately rushing to fix the feeling with a purchase, but also not beating yourself up for having it, just noticing the mechanism, understanding that the dissatisfaction was placed there deliberately, that it is, in some sense, a product in itself, manufactured and distributed and made to feel like your own private inadequacy. Because the thing consumerism does best, the trick that everything else depends on, is making external pressure feel internal. It makes you feel like the problem is you, your aging skin, your outdated phone, your boring wardrobe, your cluttered space, your insufficient routine. These are presented as personal failures, personal deficits, problems arising from inside you that happen to have solutions available for purchase. The system disappears, only your need remains. But your skin was fine before the video. Your phone worked before the announcement. Your room was home before the tour. Your life was yours, imperfect, ordinary, genuinely, messily yours, before the scroll began. That's not nothing. That's actually almost everything. I'm not saying reject all of it. Some things are worth buying. Some products are genuinely good. Some upgrades do make your life meaningfully better. The point isn't to live in deliberate austerity or to treat every purchase as a moral failing. The point is just to hold a little space between the feeling and the action. To ask, with some genuine curiosity, was this feeling mine or was it made for me? Was I actually unhappy with this before someone pointed out I should be? A lot of the time, the answer is complicated. But sometimes, just sometimes, the answer is quiet and clear. No, I was fine. I was actually fine. And that small recognition, that ordinary, unglamorous, unphotographed fine, might be the most subversive thing left.